school in Ohio. And to talk a little bit more about the latest developments from football and basketball, we got Jackson Moore with us again. It's our Ultimate Insider, brought to you by FFB Bank. Of course, Jackson writes for Barkboard.com. And Jackson, you had reported and said on this show, I believe, that the Dogs would be looking for a quarterback in the portal. They get Christian Martin from Maryland. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a guy that, he's not had a lot of college experience, but guys like that have such a large NIL budget these days that it's hard to come by. So you look for, I think if you're in Fresno State's position, you look around the Pac-12, you've either got to pick a guy up from the FCS that's got a lot of experience and you hope he does well, or you get someone from the Power 4 that hasn't proven it yet and hope that works out well. So that's what they got in Martin. They go to Maryland, they get him from all accounts. Got the size, 6'4", 230, has the tools. Now it's just a matter of whether he can do it or not on Saturdays. And if he does, it'll be a big deal for Fresno State.
We saw that Carson Conklin has decided to enter the portal, but Jaden Mandel's been tweeting that he's throwing again and feeling good. How do you see this quarterback competition shaking out? Yeah,
it's big to have Mandel around because then you've got at least two quarterbacks who maybe haven't thrown a ton of passes at this level, but you got at least two. So you go out and you get a guy like Martin, you kind of assume he's probably going to start, but you don't want someone like that to just walk right in and get complacent either. So both of them, I expect them to see a lot of snaps in the spring. You've got two true freshmen who are enrolling early. You're going to want them to participate and compete. Deegan Rose could very well be in that battle. So it should be a lot of competition, but if everything goes according to chalk, it should be Martin starting for the Bulldogs.
Of the other commitments to the Bulldogs from these transfers, who stands out to you?
Well, the defensive ends are big, especially Dylan Hampton. He had 8 sacks at Sacramento State last year. The Bulldogs have to replace Finn Claypool. They got to replace Corey Foreman. He's a guy that could get a lot of those snaps. So that's huge to just plug and play. But probably the guy that's going to be underrated from now all the way till this roster comes to completion is the kicker, Watanabe. 21 of 22. And that translates. It doesn't matter if you're D2 or on the national championship stage, a field goal is a field goal. So I think that's going to be a massive addition for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Some notable Bulldogs, Jackson, as well, have reaffirmed their intentions to come back. Talking about DB Simeon Harris, who was a star this year, linebacker Kavion Thunderbird coming off that injury, but played well in the first 7 games of the year. Josiah Freeman going to be coming back, gets an extra year of eligibility. How does this change the expectations at all for next year?
Yeah, well, it's also huge for right now because the Bulldogs, they've got 6 transfer portal commitments. That's kind of low relative to a lot of schools right now. You don't need to do as much work right now if you can keep your players around, and that's tough for a lot of coaches that go from year 1 to year 2. You see a lot of players leave, personalities don't mesh, or the schemes weren't right for those guys, and you're seeing all these Bulldogs that still have eligibility. They want to stay and play for Coach Ince. So I think it's huge. You have a really nice core, and if they can get a few more of those announcements from last year's roster, then there's really only a couple holes left to plug in that starting lineup.
All right, let's transition to men's basketball. Kind of an interesting week because the Dogs get that first road win in conference play of the Vance Wahlberg era at San Jose State, but then struggle badly at San Diego State, and Zayon Collins shows up with an injury in that game. Has this team been better or worse than you expected in conference play?
About even, I would say. I think they were competitive in those first 3 games. You would have liked to have seen them get at least one of those, but I think they're about on par with what we had seen coming out of non-conference. You've got a team, I think Coach Wahlberg said it probably best after the Nevada loss, was that he's got a team that can compete with just about anyone in the conference. You take Zayon Collins off the floor, you're probably not going to play very well at San Diego State. But other than that, they can compete with just about everyone. Doesn't mean they're going to win every game, but they should have a puncher's chance in most games. I think you'll probably only see a couple more that look as ugly as the San Diego State one did.
Jackson, what's encouraged you about this program, and also what's frustrated you about this team this season?
Yeah, well, the frustrating part is just seeing losses in similar ways. You've got a healthy group and you put in all the work to put the roster in, and then you still lose some of those nail biters. You let the Nevada game get away. That one's tough, especially because there's been about 4 of those games. The storyline for this team could be a whole lot different if they were 11-6 or so compared to where they're at right now. So you can see the gap from where they are and where they need to go is not that far, and as long as Zayon's healthy, they'll get a chance to prove it here. If they can get 1 or 2 home wins this week, I think it'll be a good step in the right direction.
All right, so there are some positive signs, according to Jackson. Hey, thanks, Jackson, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Still Still to come, Fresno State basketball analyst Mark Q. Jones stops by to talk about a Bulldog baller who helped put Fresno State hoops on the map.